Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited Podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we are talking about how to be an effectuator. Welcome to Make Limited Podcast. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. This is your host, John, and today we are talking about how to be an effectuator. Now, for most of us, if you don't know what effectuator means, it's a simple definition as a person or a thing that brings about an event or result. In other words, an effectuator is a doer, someone who does, someone who takes action, someone who goes out there and doesn't just talk the talk, but walks the walk. That's what we're talking about today, and the word of an effectuator. And I am super excited to talk about this because it's something fresh I believe that we need for this new year that is going to boost your how can I say, your strength for this year, your boldness, your amazingness that you hold within, that you need to release out into the world. This is what we want to talk about today, and I know that you're going to be elevated, you're going to be inspired, motivated to be better humans. So let's talk about an effectuator. So an effectuator, as we said earlier, is a person who does something as to bring about an event or result, right? So how do we do this? How can we become this effectuator in our lives? Right? I believe that this past year, speaking on what results we got from the podcast and how people reacted to all the messages that we got, it's really, really interesting on what people were focused on. And it was amazing as well to see everything that people wanted to hear. People wanted to listen. People wanted to get motivated. People wanted to get inspired. And that is something that we aimed for last year, to inspire people, to motivate people, because we know that we go through things. We go through life, and it's hard at points to do things because unexpected things happen in our lives. And that's something that happens, occasionally. And it was one of the main reasons why I started this podcast, because I went through a heart attack where I had to deal with something that I had never dealt with in my life before. But I shared my story, I developed my story, and I was able to share with a wide range of people. And to my surprise, the reaction was very positive. So I told myself, okay, well, there has to be other ways that I can reach people than just one platform. And so I decided to make Lemonade podcast and talk about life things that happen to us and how can we overcome them. How can we become better? How can we be this better people in our lives and just do great things? And that's what Make Limited is all about. We see our lives and our history, what we went through, and we talk about it because we never know who's listening, and we always want to help people no matter where area in their life are in. There's a story out there that somebody needs to hear. And so I'm super excited even to what we're bringing this year for Make Limited podcast. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be something new that I'm excited about. And through all this past year of what the things people have seen, like people wanted last year, people were looking at November 30th, the outcome, how things were to be. And then also the big picture. There were people that were looking at, they wanted to know about the big picture. How can they see the big picture in their life? And then another one that was really popular was, it's okay to say, I don't know. And this came out on November 3rd. And this was something that a lot of people really were in touch with, because there's sometimes in our lives that we feel that we have to say yes to everything. And because of that, it's very hard for us to admit that we don't know something. And to talk about this in the podcast and talk about my story and areas that in my life that I have used this and how I've overcome this and I'm able to step up for myself and be and tell someone I don't know. But I'll get back to you on that. So if you are interested in listening to that, you can go back to our November 3rd podcast. It's okay to say I don't know and look at that podcast, listen to it, and be motivated to say I don't know. And so this is what we're talking about today. We wanted to last year again. People were looking about how to get motivated, how to be, push forward into what they wanted to do, because we know we all were at a state where there were jobs that were lost. There were homes that were, people were almost getting evicted, and there was all these things because of COVID-19, right? And so it was a change in not just the United States, but also in the world. We all went through this together, different experiences, different things, but we are able to share our story and just look for that hope that we're all wanting in our lives and in others. And so this is why the effectuator is super important, because an effectuator, you are becoming this doer that last year you were hoping for, that you were trying to become, you were trying to set up your life. And now that you are going into 2022, you are seeing yourself as an effectuator, as someone who is a doer. But now the steps become, well, how do I go this year? How do I go about this year and really being a doer? Because last year I was trying to figure it out. Last year I was trying to be this, right? As an example, people saying and commenting of what they were trying to do. Like, people were trying to start businesses. People were trying to survive. People were just trying to find something that could just bring them to another level of peace, because we were all looking for peace. And so today in this podcast, I want to talk about the effectuator and how we can become this effectuator that can take us to another level and give us ultimately that hope that we're seeking for. And so in a way to become an effectuator is one of the things that are even in the dictionary of an effectuator. And that is, which is our number one, is event. Yes, we become effectuators by planning events. Okay, now I'm going to make it easier for you. Okay, in this whole year process, in this year we have something that we call, well, every year we have this, something that we call, and this is more done in the business areas, but I believe that it can work as individuals and even in your business world, or even in any type of world that you are in. This works greatly. And that is simple. You're dividing or breaking down your year in 4 quarters. Okay? Now, if you don't know about the 4 quarters, this will help you tremendously. And when you're going to look at this year and how to attain what you want this year, how to be an effectuator, right? Be a doer. So, how do we break this down into 4 quarters? How do we break the year down? Very, very simple. The year, you break it down by 3 months, a quarter. So, the first quarter, you would have January, February, and March. Your second quarter, you would have April, May, and June. Your third quarter, you would have July, August, September. And your fourth quarter would be October, November, and December. Those are the 4 quarters that you would divide. And how do you do this? Well, when you go and you plan an event. Now, if you haven't planned an event, or if you have maybe a birthday party, maybe somebody was turning 16, 15 years old, maybe, there was a wedding planning, maybe there was, a prom, a ball, or something where it requires planning. There has to be a sort of organization. So what is the point of having an event every quarter before we get into the planning? What is the point? The point is to break down your year in an organized manner. Why? Because it turns into an easier way to accomplish goals. We like to say on this podcast, how do you eat an elephant? Metaphorically, one bite at a time. And if you look at the whole year as one whole, it can be overwhelming with the amount of work that you have to accomplish to get there. Sometimes we don't look at things even in a whole year process. Because if you look at your job and you break down how much you get paid and per day, per week, per month, and then per 6 months to per 12 months, you get a different perspective of what you're doing and getting paid per minute, per second. And that just turns everything upside down because you start thinking, whoa, 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 something's wrong here. Something needs to be corrected. And that's why I'm helping you today on this quarterly divided year that you will have. It's going to make your whole life a lot simpler. My life has changed because of this quarterly season that I live by. And not only that, but it's helped me develop not only for this year, but for the next 5 to 10 years ahead of me. To break down my years, to know what I'm going to do ahead of time each year. And believe me or not, I have shared this before in a podcast when we talk about Dr. Miles and how Dr. Miles went to this facility that it was a car dealership, not a car dealership, but a car manufacturer dealership. And it was one of his close friends, business friends, and showed him how advanced some of those rooms, that there were hidden rooms, not hidden rooms, but there were rooms that people don't know about, not your normal people. But there were rooms that were in there that had 2000 and let's say, for example, 2003 and 2010, 2005, whatever. And it was like 5 to like 10 years ahead. And each one of those rooms were working on different vehicles for those years. In other words, if you don't understand what I'm saying, is these companies were ahead of the market by years. So as we are buying now cars that are 2000 and say, for example, 2021 or 2022, car companies are already working on 2025, 2026, 2010. Those are the vehicles that they are making according to the results and the data that they're getting that they can make sales with. While we're thinking here about 2022, 2021, companies are ahead of the game. So today, why this is important is so that you can be ahead of the game and you can reach your goals faster. I like to quote something that one of the people that I admire says, instead of breaking down, a whole 10 years, push it into 1 year. And I know that sounds contradicting for the belief that we have here of eating an elephant with one bite at a time. But let me explain. When you break down the whole 10 year into 1 year, the only thing there that you're doing is that you're taking your 10 years, you are breaking it down into that 1 year as a result of completing the 10 years that you would have there. But everything else that you don't complete in that year, you move it to the next year, and to the next year, and to the next year. But the main purpose of the results is that you're working that 1 year to complete the rest of those years, so that every year will have less, and by the time you get to 10 years, you are already even beyond 10 years that you would get to when you get to 10 years. Do you see the math there? Okay, so that's what I'm helping you today on breaking down this fourth quarter, because there are so many techniques out there that you can do in a year to get to accomplish things even faster. But today, this is just one technique that I want to talk about. This is the quarterly technique. Now that we look at this, we have our 4 quarters in the year. Let's look at how we can plan for each quarter. So for each quarter, the things that you have to look at in order to accomplish this event is you got to have a goal. That's the point of the event. What is your goal? What is your objective? What is your focus that you are doing on these 3 quarters? What do you want to accomplish the first quarter? What do you want to accomplish the second? And then the third? What is your role in this goal? Are there other people that are going to join you in this role or join you in this event? Who do you want to be a part of this goal? Another thing to look into is the budget. What is your budget? Is there a budget? Do you need a budget? How much money do you need to support this goal or vision that you may have? Again, another thing is the date of the event. What are things or dates that you have due dates that you want to accomplish things. Is it every month that you have something you want to accomplish that's going to build on that the next month and so on forth until you're the quarter, right? And where is the location where this is happening, right? Do you need any sort of software to accomplish this goal? Is it something that you want to build, like a brand or something, right? Do you want to build your skills? Do you want to build your education? What is it that you want to do quarterly, right? And then, do you need anybody to partner up with? Or do you need sponsors for this event? Now, event is not just typically talking about, you know what, I want to have like a wedding event, or I want to have a celebration of like a party event where, we just get together and we celebrate. This is not this kind of event that I'm talking about. As an effectuator, the event that you are accomplishing is a goal that you want to reach. Something that makes you a better human, something that inspires others and motivates others as yourself. Because technically, what you become is what you will attract. So when we're seeing this in a state, I apologize. That is my youngster, my pit, and so my pit bull, my young pit bull here. So as we go into this and we look at what things we can do throughout the day, throughout the week, a calendar becomes very effective. And that's what we do when we're looking at this state. And so as you're planning for your event, we are looking carefully at each day, each week, and what that adds up to. Why is that important? Because it's going to give us a measurement of where you want to be at the end of the year. Same thing as we talked about the 10-year process squeezing into a 1 year. It's the same thing that we're doing here. When you want to reach your goals, when you want to reach your accomplishments, let's say one of the things that we talked about before this podcast was the New Year resolution. You have a New Year resolution that you want to accomplish. One of the biggest things that everyone wants to do in a New Year's resolution is get in better shape, get healthier, eat healthy, go to the gym, become this new person, this new year that they have in their life. So what do you do when you have this? Well, you plan an event. And what is the purpose of planning an event? The purpose of planning an event is because it's planned, it's something that happens, especially one of importance. So what does that mean for you? It means that you're the person that you're planning this event for. So when you are doing your New Year's resolution, let's take that as an example, and you want to be more fit, you want to be more healthy, you got to plan that event as it is you, the guest of honor, that are going to celebrate every quarter your accomplishment. When you look at it like this, your whole life turns upside down, because now you're realizing that you're kind of making a birthday party for yourself, something that you're going to celebrate. And that's why it's important to see, well, how much money do I need? Do I need to get other people to come with me so we can stay motivated in a group? And what can we grow that into, right? What can we make that into? This is the beautiful thing that happens when you're looking at an event. Because it's not just an event that you're planning for someone else. It's an event that you're planning for yourself. Something that's going to take you to the next level. And this is quarterly. So every time that you are planning, for each quarter, let's say, for example, you have January, February, and March, you're planning those. You're going to look at your days. You're going to look at your weeks. You're going to look at your availabilities. You're going to look at the days that you can really, work really smart, and then other days that you can work really hard. And how can you combine those? How can you use your skills in each one of those days to be more efficient, more proficient, and each day that you wake up and attack that subject or object that you are trying to reach. And so if you look at your calendar, you can see the days, you can see the weeks, and we have a lot of I believe like about 3 to 4 months, if I'm correct or mistaken, that we have in some months that you have up to 5 weeks. 5 weeks. Each month has about four. There's a couple of months this year that have 5 weeks in them. And and seeing this, you're able to see where you're going to be working longer in the month, or where you're going to have more opportunity in the month to grow more, to really get in there and get more results. That's where you want to get to when you're coming into these events. These events are not just to celebrate at the very end only, because you are the special guest, but these events are to take you from one level to the next. As you keep on growing, as you keep on elevating, they are there to take you to the next step. And every step that you take, that you're going higher and higher, is a development that you are creating within yourself. Just as a swimmer, if you haven't heard about these people who deep dive in the water, they're impressive. Their skill of holding their breath in the water and the training that they go through just so they can do this. But every time that they practice and they practice their techniques and everything that they need to do before they go in deep dive for a certain amount of time, they prepare themselves for that, for the big event. So every time that you see an event and you're planning, know that you are preparing for that next level. The more you train, the more you develop your mind, the more you develop yourself into what you want to be, the more you are preparing yourself to be that person that you want to be. That fit person that you talked about in the beginning of the year that you're looking forward to meet at the end of the next year, the end of the quarter. And every quarter you're going to see a development, which is going to want to motivate you, right? So now that we looked at motivation, let's look at events. The events are technically going to give you, number two, results. And the results here are super important because it gives you an outcome of something. And an outcome is the way a thing turns out. How will you turn out and become this person that you will be as a result? What will you do? Who will you become? And that is all in the event of your planning. Your result is where you are going to see your growth. During the time and the process that you are going through each quarter, you're gonna see change, but the results are always at the end. Every quarter you're gonna see a difference, and it all depends on how much you give into this event that you plan in your life. So, as for closing, one thing that I want to say about an effectuator is that an effectuator is not only being a doer, but a doer with results. And that is something to look and take with you throughout the day, throughout your life, throughout this year. And I'm breaking it down. And you can start this anytime, but I really recommend you start now. Be an effectuator because it's going to take you a long way this year. Become an effectuator, be an effectuator, and I'm going to tell you something. Your life will be changed tremendously, and you will not be the same because you're going to be the better human that you always wanted to be. All right, you have reached the end of today's podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today. It is so amazing to see how Make Limited is just impacting your life to be that better human that we all want to be. It's so exciting to see the results in our geographic locations and where we've been reaching, especially like in the worldwide. It's just amazing within the United States, France, Germany, Russia, United Kingdom, Ireland, Finland, Sweden, Canada, India, Australia, Mexico, Ukraine, Philippines. I mean, you name it. We're just reaching, and I'm so glad that you are listening. And just to know that Make Limited podcast is doing so much in your life and in your families and helping you grow and elevate and becoming better humans overall. So again, if you want to reach out to us, you can go to our website, makelemonade.com, makelimitedpodcast.com, or you can go to our Facebook page at Make Lemonade Podcast, and you can find us there. Follow us, share us, send us a message, DM us, let us know how Make Lemonade is inspiring, motivating you to be better humans. And like always, we enjoy talking on this podcast, and we love that you are on here. We're just so grateful. Some just announcement before we go. Free announcements is we are going to get a new logo coming this February, which I am excited about and ready for. Also, we're going to have special guests. We're going to have a new intro to our Make Limited podcast, which I'm super excited. So many things are coming this year, and I'm excited for them. And again, we are taking them, as we love to say, how do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Metaphorically, of course. So thank you so much, guys, for being here today, and we'll talk to you next time.